Well, if you're stuck in traffic, that'll wake you up. Gotta get you going this morning. So I want to talk about here in just a quick second. It's interesting. We saw this big downturn in oil prices, and of course, here in Houston, that has a lot to do with jobs, the economy here. So, as individuals, we watch oil prices very, very closely, and of course, the belief is that that's okay because as oil prices are lower, and this has been kind of one of the false kind of things that are thrown about the media, right? And in fact, even Donald Trump had talked about this, saying that low oil price is good for the economy, gives people more money to spend. And that is a totally false statement because of the way the economy works. And it's interesting because in the shale oil field, right? And of course here in Texas, this is kind of a very important thing. The Permian Basin has had a huge influx of drillers and operations over the course of the last couple of years, particularly as oil prices were ticking back up. We had this big rush into the Permian Basin to start drilling these shale wells as prices got to the point of being much more profitable. And it was interesting because when we had this recent turn down in oil prices, broke back below 50, went to the low 40s. Now, over the last week or so, oil prices got extremely oversold. And we've been seeing those bounce up. We're about $49 a barrel this morning. But the belief was that shale drillers could operate successfully even in a lower oil price environment. New data out, and of course, shale executives have been boasting about this low break-even price of drilling, reassuring investors their ability to operate even when oil prices are low. But new survey out today and new data out shows that shale activity slammed on the brakes in the fourth quarter of last year. This is when oil prices dropped. The Business Activity Index, the survey's broadest measure of conditions facing the 11th district, which is mostly energy firms, remained positive, but only barely so, plunging from 43.3 in the third quarter to 2.3 in the fourth quarter. And this is according to the Dallas Fed. And I talked about this yesterday, that here in Texas, the one thing you want to watch is the Dallas Fed. And because it really, that federal region is what encompasses all of Texas and some surrounding states. But the Dallas region, primarily Texas, and they have a good pulse on what's actually occurring in the state of Texas as well, as in Houston and other major cities, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio. And it was interesting last year, I was talking to my wife and we were like, we need to get our house sold because we this downturn is going to impact the housing market here in Houston. And there's been a dramatic slowing in housing activity in the state of Texas that has corresponded with this whole downturn in oil prices and activity. And the deceleration was true really kind of in multiple segments of oil and gas. And for instance, the oil production index fell from 34.8 in the third quarter to 29.1 in the fourth. And natural gas production also slid sharply. So one thing I talked about yesterday, and this is really important because the oil and gas industry, so, we're talking about restaurants a second ago. Service industries don't create a lot of what's called a multiplier effect in the economy. So if I build an app, and I'm having trouble figuring this whole thing out because I saw an app over the weekend. It was advertised on television, right? To walk your dog. Now, two things really kind of pop into my mind about these dog walking apps is A, there is enough business there to actually create a business for professional dog walkers. And exactly where are you in your life where you're going, I'm a professional dog walker. Call me up 24 hours a day and I'll show up to your house and walk your dog for you. Now, I'm not saying that that's not a bad thing. I'm sure there's people that do this, but do you not have something better to do? with your time than walking dogs.
Well,
But
they don't want that job at McDonald's.
apparently so. I don't know what the dog walker pays, but there you go. And trust me, if you've got a dog, you should walk your own dog. It's called exercise, and you probably need it more than the dog does.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Just saying.
But the issue is that if I walk a dog, if I'm a dog walker, and you pay me to walk your dog, so Brent pays me to walk his dog. He gives me $20. I walk his dog around the block. And by the way, this app also lets you know, yes, that is your dog. This app also lets you know when your dog does his business during his walk. I don't know why you need to know that, but it will tell you that too. It's like, oh, little Rover just dropped a load right there. So
Will the app also pick it up?
No, the dog walker does that.
Oh, okay.
I guess they get paid extra for that job.
Well, it links with the veterinarian app so that the vet can keep up with the cycle of the dog's movements.
Okay. Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
You know that for a fact?
No, I'm just making
Okay, gotcha.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Maybe you're onto something.
Yeah.
But the point is that if you pay me $20 to go and walk a dog, then I've got $20 to spend, and I'm going to go buy what I normally spend with it, right? So I'm going to go buy my groceries, and I'm going to go buy, my shoes or put gas in my car, whatever it is. So the multiplier effect is very short-lived, right? The oil and gas industry is vastly different. Because when you drill a well, it requires engineers. It requires workers out there in the field actually drilling the well. It requires all the materials for the pipe, the development of the well, the transportation, the rigs, all these type of things, and the providers of the commodities to actually build these things, the manufacturers to actually manufacture these things, the deliverers to actually deliver these things. It just goes on and on and on. So when you start manufacturing a well, and putting a well into practice, it has a huge multiplier effect throughout the economy. And that's why, we saw during, 2008, 2009, after the crash, we saw a big recovery in employment. And when we saw employment pick up after the financial crisis, almost 50% of all the employment that was generated in the U.S. was in the oil and gas sector. That's how big it is. So 1/4 of all your CapEx spending, all your capital expenditures across the entire economy come from the oil and gas sector because it's very capital intensive. So don't dismiss low oil prices as a negative impact to the overall economy, despite the rumors and the headlines and people coming out saying, oh, low oil prices are great, gives people more money to spend. That's a false statement. You don't have more money to spend. You didn't earn any more money. You spent less at the pump, but you don't have any more money to spend. You're simply just determining where you spend your money differently. You're still going to spend the same amount of money because you have the same amount of money to begin with. You didn't get an extra $10, at the pump. When you filled up your gas tank at the gas station, the guy didn't run out and say, hey, you saved $10. Here's an extra $10. So you didn't make any more money. You just simply paid less at the pump, but he had less in revenue. So the economic equivalent is zero. You spent less, but he made less. So the economic impact is zero. But when it comes to the actual production of oil and gas, that is a hugely important environment for the overall economy, not just in Texas, but nationwide. Because, again, the capital expenditures, the income, the employment, etc., that is driven by oil and gas manufacturing has a big impact across the entire complex in the country. Okay, so just wanted to kind of bring that up because there's some issues that are going on. And if oil prices don't start coming back up, we're going to see a bigger drag on the economy in the course of the next couple of quarters. And I think it was interesting. When we come back from the break, I want to kind of do a rundown of what's happening around the world here as we get you started for your workday. But the National Federation of Independent Business, they are kind of the finger on the pulse of small business owners. It's an organization that as a small business owner you can subscribe to, be a part of. And every month they ask a survey of all their members. They say, well, are you planning on hiring? Are you going to spend some more on CapEx? What's your optimism for the economy? Are things better? Are things worse? Well, right after the election, when Donald Trump was elected, that optimism jumped to record highs. Everybody was like, woohoo, Donald Trump's elected. This is awesome. Small business will be great. And since then, that optimism has continued to wane. And in fact, the report today showed optimism in that index now at a 14-month low as concerns over overall economic growth, the environment, employment, et cetera, continue to soften. So keep watching this. When we come back here in just a few minutes, I do want to spend a couple of minutes with you and kind of just really kind of cover some of the broader issues that are occurring around the world, some of the kind of the big headlines, keep you up to date on that. And of course, as always, get by our website, LanceRobertsShow.com, and that takes you to our full page where you'll find all of our podcasts. You'll find our daily videos as well as our articles and updates. And of course, you have questions, feel free to send us an email. You can ask a question right there on the website. Happy to help you out. LanceRobertsShow.com. Like I said, when we come back, I do want to kind of cover some of the bigger issues as futures are pointing higher this morning. So it looks like we are going to get a little bit of an uptick out of the gate. But are we making real progress here? And what do we need to be thinking about as we move forward into our workday? We'll do that when we come back from the break. I'm your host, Lance Roberts. You're listening to the Lance Roberts Show right here on the Voice of Texas.
Want a longer talk with Lance about your money? Request a personal one-on-one at LanceRobertsShow.com.